Court decision.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of what they're proposing, and do you think it's going to have any substantial impact on the Supreme Court ruling in terms of its ability to dampen down the power that corporations now have?
Right. So the law that's been proposed, I appreciate the question, is a law bill that's been submitted by Senator Schumer and Congressman Van Hollen and backed by the White House. And it's called the Disclose Act, and the focus is really on disclosure, to force CEOs to appear in the corporate ads that would now get run as a result of this ruling, to ensure that if the corporation has 20% or more ownership from foreign interests, that they would be barred entirely from engaging in these kinds of expenditures. The problem here is, as much as I think it's important to have more disclosure, to learn more about...
My name is Bernie Madoff, and I approve this message.
That's right. As much as that's important, the fact is that the focus is all around how to fix Citizens United, how to work within the ruling, within the confines of the ruling, and pass something that can potentially try to undermine in some way what corporations might do, or in some way blunt the impact of the ruling. The reality is that as much as we need more disclosure, and as much as we need some of these other proposals like shareholder legislation that Congressman Capuano has proposed to give shareholders more power over what the corporate management does with political expenditures, and as much as we even need public funding of elections, which I have worked on for years and believe is critical, we've got to get to the core problem here, the core fundamental error that's occurred, which is we've essentially allowed corporations to take over our First Amendment and to now strike down, as I've said, major reforms in a host of areas, not just in campaign finance. And if we don't address that core problem, they will find, unfortunately, ways to get around these other laws. So even with the public funding system, endanger it. Because you could imagine, you could have a public funding system, you could have 3 candidates running in that public funding system, the only candidates running, they're all taking the public money, and in comes Exxon, Mobil, and the other oil companies, and they decide they don't like 2 of these 3, and they're going to start running negative ads on them, and they're going to start lifting up the only other publicly financed candidate. That's going to taint that system, and that's going to make it difficult for people to have faith that their public funds are being used in a way that will work. So I believe we've got to have a parallel track to that kind of critical reform, which is to restore the First Amendment and fair elections to the people with the 28th Amendment. In the meantime, we ought to push these other reforms, but we've got to make sure that a parallel track is this fundamental constitutional amendment process. Yes, in the back.